I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here telling a story about how my wife, Emily, cheated on me during what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, our wedding weekend. Honestly, I still can't wrap my head around it. Everything seemed perfect at first. We had the whole thing planned for months. I thought finally I was marrying someone I could trust with my life. But as the days went on, weird little things started to bother me. It started with Emily acting a little more distant than usual, but I just brushed it off. She's a bit of a bitch sometimes, always throwing little jabs, acting like she's better than everyone else. I figured she was just stressed, or maybe she was nervous about the wedding. She's always been pretty manipulative, good at hiding what she really wants, so I didn't think much of it at first. Still, I noticed she'd occasionally make phone calls that she'd quickly hide from my view, or that she'd go into the bathroom for long stretches and come out looking guilty as hell. Then there was the night before the wedding. We were at the hotel, finalizing everything, and Emily disappeared for about 20 minutes. I asked her where she was, and she snapped at me saying she just needed some air. I didn't push her because I figured she was just anxious. But the weird thing was, when she came back, she seemed different, more guarded, more aloof. She snapped at me during the last few hours of wedding prep, and I caught her in little lies about who she'd been texting. She always claimed it was just her sister or some bridesmaids, but I had this nagging feeling she was hiding something. The morning of the wedding, she was acting like everything was fine, smiling, playing the perfect bride. But I noticed her glancing nervously at her phone every few minutes. My gut told me something was off. Still, I told myself I was just paranoid. I was about to get married to the woman I believed loved me, and I refused to ruin the day with suspicions. Then came the reception. It was packed, loud music, everyone celebrating. I was dancing with friends, trying to enjoy the night. Then I saw her. Emily slipped away from the group and went into one of the hotel's side hallways. At first, I thought she was just trying to get some air, but then I saw her with someone I never expected, her childhood best friend, Jake. They weren't just talking, they were sneaking behind a corner out of sight like they were hiding something. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I saw Jake's hand on her waist and she was laughing at something he said. It was the kind of laugh that wasn't just friendly. I froze. My stomach dropped. I felt this deep, sickening twist inside me. I followed them from a distance, pretending I wasn't watching. I saw them go into a side hotel room, my hotel room, my room. I watched through the peephole as they slipped inside, their shadows moving behind the door. My mind was racing, trying to process what I was seeing. The picture was clear. They had snuck into my room together. It was the kind of thing you see in movies, but it was real. I had to get out of there before they saw me. I went back to the wedding, trying to act normal, but I was shaken. The rest of the night, I kept looking at Emily, studying her every move, trying to find some sign of guilt or remorse, but she was still acting like the innocent bride, smiling, laughing, pretending everything was perfect. I kept thinking, how could she lie to my face all day? It was like she had rehearsed her act and nobody else seemed to notice anything. That's when I knew I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had the evidence I needed, and I knew I had to confront her. But I also knew this was just the beginning. The betrayal ran deeper than I ever thought possible, and I wasn't sure if I could ever trust her again. Still, I had to find out the truth, whether I was ready or not. The next morning, after a restless night full of thoughts swirling in my head, I decided I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I woke up early, trying to get my head straight, but the image of Emily sneaking into my hotel room with Jake kept replaying in my mind. The betrayal cut deep. I knew I needed answers, and I knew I couldn't trust her anymore. I had to confront her, and I had to do it now. I waited until she was in the bathroom, brushing her teeth or whatever she was doing, probably putting on her innocent bride face. Then I grabbed her phone from the bedside table. I wasn't planning to invade her privacy, but I needed to see if she'd slipped up or left any evidence behind. My heart was pounding as I unlocked it, and I started scrolling through her messages. Thankfully, she hadn't erased everything, but there weren't many recent texts. Just a few from some girl named Lily, which I assumed were her bridesmaids, nothing suspicious there. I was about to put the phone back when I noticed a message thread from Jake. I hesitated, then opened it. The messages were short but revealing. They talked about meeting up later that night, about being close, about how they'd make it work. My stomach twisted again. My wife was clearly planning to meet Jake behind my back. I sat there, feeling numb and furious all at once. How could she do this to me? On our wedding weekend. I half expected her to walk in and catch me snooping, but she didn't. When she finally came out of the bathroom, I looked her straight in the eyes. She paused, caught off guard, then tossed on her best innocent smile. "What are you doing, honey?" I took a deep breath and decided I wasn't going to pretend anymore. "Emily, I know what you did last night. I saw you sneaking into my room with Jake. Don't lie to me. I saw the way you looked at him, the way you laughed, the way you touched him. Tell me the truth. Are you cheating on me?" Her face went pale for a second, then she recovered with that bitchy smirk. "You're crazy. You're just seeing things. Maybe you're imagining things, or maybe you're jealous." She crossed her arms defensively, but her eyes were darting around, avoiding mine. "No, Emily, I saw you. I saw you with Jake, and I saw the messages. You're planning to meet up with him tonight, aren't you? During the wedding, you were acting innocent, but I knew something was off. And now I find out you've been lying this whole time. How long has this been going on?" She scoffed, rolling her eyes. "You're overreacting. Jake and I are just friends. We've been friends forever. You're just insecure. The wedding was stressful, that's all. You're imagining things again. I don't want to fight over this right now." I felt my fists clench. I'd had enough of her bullshit. I told her I was done listening to her lies, that I was going to get to the bottom of this once and for all. She pushed back, acting like she was the victim, calling me crazy, saying I was ruining everything. But I wasn't about to let her gaslight me anymore. The truth was in those messages, in the fact that she'd been sneaking around behind my back during the happiest day of my life. My mind was racing with anger, betrayal, heartbreak. I had trusted her, and she'd betrayed me in the worst way possible. I knew I couldn't stay married to someone who lied so easily, who thought she could get away with cheating during my wedding weekend and then act innocent like nothing had happened. I decided I had to cut her out of my life. No more excuses, no more lies. I needed to figure out my next move, whether that was to fight to save the marriage or walk away for good. But one thing was clear. I'd never see her the same way again. After that confrontation, everything changed. The honeymoon phase was completely over, and the betrayal hit me like a freight train. I remember sitting there, staring at Emily, who was still trying to put on her little bitchy act, acting like she hadn't just been caught red-handed. But I saw right through her. The smirk, the defensive posture, the way her eyes darted around. She was lying, still trying to spin her way out of it. I told her I needed some space, that I couldn't look at her right now, not after what I'd found out. I told her I was going to the hotel lobby to think, and she threw a fit, calling me crazy, saying I was ruining her perfect day, that I was imagining stuff again. But I didn't care about her tantrum. All I cared about was processing what I'd just learned and figuring out what the hell I was going to do next. I stepped out into the hallway, my mind racing. My hands were trembling, and I felt cold, numb, angry, all at once. I didn't want to believe she could do this during our wedding weekend when I'd given her everything. I kept replaying what I saw, what I read. How Jake had touched her, how they'd sneaked into my room like they were trying to hide something. And the worst part, she'd lied to my face all morning, acting like she was the perfect bride, like she loved me. I thought about the wedding vows, about trust, about the future I'd imagined with her. It all crumbled in that moment. I knew I couldn't stay with her, not after what I'd uncovered. But I also knew I needed proof, something more concrete. I couldn't just go on assumptions or her words, because she was a manipulative bitch who could lie her way out of anything. As I paced in the hallway, I remembered that I'd seen some hotel security footage the night before. I'd snuck into the lobby because I couldn't sleep, and I had a feeling I might find some answers there. I knew the hotel had security cameras. If I could get access, I could see exactly what happened when Emily and Jake went into that room. I didn't bother telling her I was checking. I knew she'd deny everything, accuse me of paranoia or being crazy. So I went silent, pulled out my phone, and started researching how to access hotel footage discreetly. It wasn't easy, but I found a way. I contacted the hotel's security department, claiming I'd lost my key card and needed to come pick it up to get into my room. I managed to get them to send me a link to the security footage from the night before. As I watched the clips, my stomach clenched. Sure enough, there they were, Jake and Emily, sneaking into my room around midnight, giggling, touching, acting like a couple of teenagers hiding a secret. I saw Jake's hand slip under her dress. I saw Emily's face light up with a wicked grin. They were doing more than just talking. Seeing it all in unfiltered footage was a punch in the gut. It confirmed everything I suspected. I watched her kiss him, saw them close the door, and everything clicked into place. She'd been lying to me all along, pretending she was innocent while she was cheating on me during the most important day of my life. I felt a rage I'd never known before. How could she do this? How could she betray me? Like this, right in front of my face. I kept the footage on repeat, trying to process it, trying to accept what I saw. I knew I couldn't stay silent anymore. I had to confront her again, but this time with proof. I was determined to make her face what she'd done, no matter how much she tried to deny it or spin it. My mind was made up. She wasn't coming back from this. Not with that kind of betrayal. The wedding was over. My trust was shattered. And now I had to figure out how to pick up the pieces and move on from the wreckage she left behind. After watching the footage, I was a mess. I felt sick, angry, hurt, all swirling inside me like a storm I didn't know how to control. Seeing her with Jake, knowing she'd been lying to my face all morning, it was like some sick nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I didn't sleep the rest of the night, just sat on the edge of the bed, replaying everything, trying to come to terms with it. When morning finally came, I knew I had to confront her again, this time with undeniable proof. I found her sitting on the balcony, looking out at the city, her face a mask of that bitchy attitude she always carried. I felt my blood boil. I pulled out my phone and played the video for her, loud enough for her to see. Her eyes widened in shock, then quickly hardened. "You lied to my face," I said coldly. "You sneaked into my room with Jake. You've been cheating on me this whole time during our wedding weekend. How could you do this to me?" She looked at the screen, then back at me, trying to act innocent. "It's not what it looks like," she said, her voice trembling but still full of that manipulative tone. "You're just jealous, you're paranoid. Jake and I were just friends, nothing more." I felt rage bubble up. "Stop lying. I saw the messages. I saw you kissing him, touching him, everything. Don't even try to deny it. You've been playing me for a fool. How long has this been going on? Since before the wedding." Her eyes flashed with annoyance. "You're overreacting. This is just a stupid misunderstanding. I don't owe you an explanation for a few late nights or a kiss. You're making a big deal out of nothing. I love you and I'm loyal to you. Jake's just an old friend, nothing more." I clenched my fists. "You're a damn liar. I trusted you, Emily. I gave you everything, my love, my life, my trust. And you threw it all away for some quick sex with Jake during my wedding weekend. How could you be so fucking selfish?" Her face twisted in anger now. "Selfish? You think I'm the one being selfish? I'm the one who's been stuck with your insecure bullshit every day. You're so fucking paranoid you can't see what's right in front of you. Jake and I, we're just friends. I don't owe you an explanation for talking to him. Maybe if you weren't so controlling, I wouldn't have needed to sneak around." That was the last straw. I looked at her, feeling like I was about to explode. "You're a manipulative bitch," I said through gritted teeth. "This isn't just about a kiss or some messages. It's about trust, and you've destroyed it. I don't know if I can ever forgive you, Emily. I don't think I want to." She started crying, fake tears that didn't reach her eyes. "You're overreacting like always. You're being unfair. This isn't about love, it's about your insecurities. I didn't do anything wrong, everything's fine. You're just seeing what you want to see." I knew I couldn't stay with her, not after all this, but part of me still felt numb, like I was walking through a fog. My heart was shattered, and I wondered how I'd ever be able to look at her again. I told her I was done, that I was leaving, and I packed my stuff quickly. She yelled, begged, tried to stop me, but I didn't care. I knew I'd never trust her again, not after this. As I walked out the door, I looked back at her one last time. She was still crying, still pretending to be the victim. But I knew better. I knew the truth now, and I wasn't going to forget it. That was the moment I decided I'd take control, that I'd do whatever it took to get rid of this betrayal and rebuild my life. I didn't know what was coming next, but I knew one thing for sure. Emily's lies had cost her everything, and I wasn't going to be the fool anymore. The days that followed were a blur. I moved out of the hotel into a friend's place, trying to get some distance from everything. My mind kept circling back to that footage, to her lies, to the way she'd looked at me while she was betraying me. It was like I'd been hit repeatedly, and I couldn't find a way to breathe properly anymore. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and honestly pretty damn lost. I kept replaying everything: her smile, her lies, that sneaky look she had when she thought she was getting away with it. The worst part is, I kept asking myself if I should try to fix this, if somehow she was just a victim of her own mistakes. But deep down, I knew better. She lied to me repeatedly, played both sides, and thought she could get away with cheating during my wedding weekend. That wasn't just a mistake, it was a sign of who she really was. I tried to talk to some friends, but honestly, most of them told me to just forget her, move on, and find someone who actually respects me. But I wasn't that kind of guy. I needed to see it through, to understand what I was dealing with. So I made the choice to find out everything, the full extent of what she'd been doing with Jake and anyone else she might have brought into our lives. I wanted the truth in all its ugly detail. I started digging a little deeper. I hired a private investigator just to see if she'd slipped up with anyone else. I knew it was petty, but I couldn't help myself. I needed to know if I was just dealing with one betrayal or if there was a long pattern I'd missed. When I got the report back, I saw she'd been sneaking around with at least 2 other guys, probably for months. I felt sick reading it, but it also confirmed something I already suspected. She was a manipulative, dishonest person who'd been cheating on me far before the wedding. That was a wake-up call. I realized I'd been blind, fooling myself into thinking she'd change, that she loved me enough to stop. But she'd been lying and betraying me from the start. Knowing the full scope of her deception made me furious, but it also gave me clarity. I didn't want to be with someone like that. I deserved better, someone who wouldn't treat me like a fool. So I made the decision: no more excuses, no more apologies. I was going to end it for good. I drafted a message to her, telling her I knew everything, that I was done, and that I never wanted to see her again. I didn't want to hear her fake tears or her pathetic excuses anymore. I just wanted her gone, out of my life, so I could start healing. That night I went to her place to pick up my things. She was waiting for me, still trying to pretend she was innocent, still crying fake tears, begging me to forgive her. But I shut her down immediately. I handed her the letter and told her I was done. I told her that she lost her chance, that I'd been a fool to trust her, and that I'd spend the rest of my life trying to forget what she did, but I never would. Walking out those front door, I felt a strange mix of relief and heartbreak. I knew I'd be okay eventually, but right then I just felt empty. I had lost someone I thought I knew, someone I loved. And all because she couldn't keep her legs closed or her lies straight. It was a brutal lesson. Trust is fragile, and some people are just better at pretending than actually loving. Now I'm trying to put everything behind me, piece by piece. I've started therapy, focusing on figuring out why I stayed so long, why I couldn't see the warning signs before it was too late. I know I'll come out of this stronger, but I'll never forget the pain of betrayal. And honestly, I just want to warn others: don't ignore the signs. If your gut tells you something's wrong, listen to it. Because once trust is broken, it's hard to repair. And sometimes it's better to walk away before you get hurt even more. Looking back now, I realize I've learned a lot from this whole nightmare, even if it's painful to admit. Trusting someone, especially someone you love and want to spend your life with, is fragile. It's easy to ignore the little signs, like her being distant, secretive, lying about small things, until it all blows up in your face. I was naive, sure, but I also thought loyalty mattered more than anything. Turns out some people just don't value it. The betrayal changed me. I've become more cautious, more aware of how easy it is for someone to lie behind your back. It's a lesson I'll carry for the rest of my life. Don't take anything for granted, and never ignore your instincts. If your gut ever screams at you that something's wrong, listen to it. Because the cost of ignoring it could be losing everything you thought you had. I also learned that revenge isn't always about hurting someone else, but sometimes it's about reclaiming your peace. For me, moving out, cutting her out of my life, and finally accepting what she did was the best thing I could do. It was about reclaiming my dignity, my sense of self. I refused to let her betrayal define me, but I also refused to forget what happened. I want to remember so I don't make the same mistakes again. Now I focus on rebuilding, on healing. I'm going to therapy, trying to understand why I stayed so long with her and how I can trust again someday. I know I'll come out better on the other side, stronger, more aware, more cautious. And I hope others reading this will learn from my pain. Don't ignore the signs, don't dismiss your feelings, and don't let someone else's lies ruin your life. Trust is precious. Once it's gone, it's almost impossible to get back, and sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away, pick up the pieces, and move on. That's what I'm doing now. I may be hurting, but I'm finally free.